The southern shore, as it is locally known, is the easternmost coastline of the island of Newfoundland. It proudly reaches into the Atlantic Ocean and hosts some of the oldest settlements in North America, complete with colourful names such as Petty Harbour, Bay Bulls, Mobile and Burnt Cove. Over 150 kilometres long, it is both bucolic and desolate. Hills that plunge into the forest valleys carved by salmon rivers sit against the rocky and windswept barrens, punctuated by fishing villages. A dramatic coastline complete with a long and textured history. This series celebrates the unusual, the courageous, and the quirky stories that seem to define the communities of the area. And while some are known by locals, the finer details are unknown to others. While more or less everybody listening to this knows about Newfoundland Labrador's position in the history of whaling. Whaling was done all over the world, of course, but our waters were plentiful and our shores had whaling stations too. I don't think Newfoundland itself had an industry until quite a bit later, but other people like the Basque and the Portuguese, maybe the Norwegians, they all use our waters and shores for their hunting seasons. Sure, look at Redby up in Labrador. That was an Arctic whaling station for the Basque, and they were in the 1500s. No matter how you feel about whaling, that spot has provided countless archaeological and scientific artifacts, and a look into that period of history not afforded many other places on this side of the Atlantic. A lot of these stations almost worked like whale factories, almost like a slaughterhouse, you know, like breaking down the wheels. They would do the flensing, which is peeling the thick fat back with these large blades called flensing knives on long handles. And then, well, they'd be rendering the blubber for our oil, which was mostly sent off to Europe. It was a bit of a grisly sight, to be honest, just because of the sheer size of the animals, you know. Some of these stations weren't really that long ago in the grand scheme of things, and there were still whalers in our waters well into the 1970s. Some of these stations weren't really that long ago in the grand scheme of things, and there were still whalers in our waters well into the 1970s. It was pretty common for fishermen to hunt the whales for meat and oil. For some communities, not unlike the spring seal hunt, it was how many people survived a good part of the year, supplementing an income that wouldn't come until the codfishery of the summer, at least on good years. Blue whales, pothead whales, hoyled whales, finback whales. There was a lot of whales caught up in the hunt. Most of them could be eaten. All of them had oil needed for lanterns and so on. As far as I know, the Cape Broyle area boasted the only whaling station on the southern shore. Agaford had one too. They were some of the only ones on the Avalon, really. In the early 20th century, there were decades of uninterrupted whaling in this area. In the 1920s, this Norwegian captain, Eamon Ellison, he bought up a bunch of properties and started up what was called the Newfoundland Whaling Company, which operated mostly out of Labrador sites. The Cape Broyle Whale and Trading Company was no longer. The Aggerford property might have been sold too, actually. I don't quite know. Either way, there hasn't been any commercial whaling on this shore in a good while. Though the whaling industry is long gone here, it still exists on a smaller cultural scale in some places, mostly up in the north. More like a traditional wild game hunt rather than a commercial industry.